You've heard it before, I'll say it 1,000 times more, but I love me some Rollerball games. There's just something so unique about their surreal atmosphere and physicality, how you feel a presence in these otherwise ethereal worlds, and it sort of grounds the whole thing. I've been trying to cover as many as I can, within reason, and so today we'll talk about 4 more Rollerball games, in no particular order, with no particular relevance, just because I feel like it. Those games will be RollerBaller, Rollball Adventures, Rollerball. I think that's it, just those 3? Anyway, on with the video, I hope you enjoy. Rollerball is a memey little experience you can get for free on Steam, and it has pretensions at being a rage game. And I, likewise, don't want to have pretensions of what is and is not a rage game. I don't want to gatekeep and say I have the definitive statement on the genre here or any such thing, but it doesn't feel like a rage game to me. There are generous checkpoints, there's an incredibly obvious goal that's simple to reach, and the high score, like getting a high score in the game, is just a matter of patience rather than difficulty or skill, because, again, the generous checkpoints. The ball does have crazy momentum and high speed, and that is coupled with invisible instant death walls, as you're seeing, but it's all very deterministic, and the controls can feel pretty good when you get a drift going. That's truthfully the most fun I had, was drifting around corners. This game wasn't particularly frustrating or engaging for any other reason, but it's probably fine. It's just not really for me. I'll let this footage keep going and you can decide for yourself whether it's technically a rage game, but it feels pretty normal to me, just has a higher than usual difficulty. I guess is like trying something over and over enough to be considered a rage game, because while that's something you do and say, I want to be the guy, that's not like why it's frustrating. The restarting is itself not the difficulty, it's how deliberately unfair and how surprising the mechanics are. But yeah, I suppose the real disappointment here is just that I didn't find anything interesting. Rollball Adventures is up next, and it's a game where you play as a rollball and go on adventures. This game features linear levels, a ton of them in fact, where you collect 30 coins, avoid hazards, and reach the goal. I'm not entirely sure what the coins are for, actually. I went out of my way to collect them all every time, but it doesn't seem to give you anything. I think maybe this was originally a mobile game and collecting the coins let you skip ads or something. Anyway, this has a more traditional level structure than most Rollerball games. It feels almost like a 3D platformer in style. You just proceed from one set of hazards to the next, and the atmosphere is basically just tropical. Everything is very tropical, and both world types, while somewhat distinct, follow that central theme. It is kind of an ugly game, honestly. You can see the grass textures are pretty disgusting. The water textures warp constantly. It's just generally unpleasant to look at. And I recognize these assets. In addition, they're poorly used here. None of the hazards are particularly creative or even used creatively, but at least unlike Crazy Ball Adventure, they're all unique configurations. I'm not doing the same thing over and over. There are some honestly cool skips you can do. You can bounce around on the water to bypass some of the level design in a really humorous way. The incentive to see the level designs is like very limited. There's not much pulling me forward with this experience. It's just so ordinary and unremarkable. It's just not outstanding in any capacity. The third and final game this time is Rollerball, and this one at least has some pretty nice atmosphere to it. It takes place in this sort of dark, expansive, impossibly large basement, and you see this like illuminating warm glow of the exit tunnels in the distance. There's classic and acoustic music, which is a rather unique choice, which adds a lot. There's some atmosphere here. It also is much more simple than several other ball games I've played recently. The hazards are fairly easy to get around, easy to understand in general, but the ball physics are really good, and you can't put that down. A lot of these ball games don't even have ball physics sometimes. The collectibles that exist in this game are meant to make you explore the levels thoroughly, but sadly they're all placed in really obvious, easily accessible areas. It just pads out the level length. You have to get them all. and it doesn't feel like a reward. It doesn't feel earned that I'm collecting all these things. It feels like busy work. There's a general lack of animations for the traps, like floor spikes, a lack of sound effects as well. It makes the whole thing feel kind of disjointed and cheap. And in addition, the game will soft lock you. The restart button is broken, and there's no kill plane in some levels, which is a huge problem. So no, I can't recommend it, even if my first impressions were quite pleasant, and initially quite pleasant, but it's just not a good game. So I don't want to say like this time we hit the bottom of the barrel or anything, yeah, because I know it's really not the bottom of the barrel. There were much worse games than this. Like I said, there were some without even ball physics at all, but it really feels like I didn't get anything interesting here either, and that's a shame because that's primarily what I'm looking for is something interesting, since rollerball games are inherently strange as a genre. But there's always next time. I definitely haven't even scratched the surface.